Hello everyone, so it's been a while since I have done a review slash guide. The Evangelion collab is probably a good opportunity for me to get back into the game. So buckle up and let's take a look at Asuka's kit, skill, and where she belongs in the game. Alright, so this is Asuka, Shikinami Langley. So this means that she is a character from the Rebuild series, not the original TV series. And if we take a look at her weapon, she uses a sub weapon, dealing 18.76% damage, 200% damage when attacking cores. This is pretty typical. She does have a pretty fast reload speed of 1 second, which is great. And her skill, honestly, her skill is pretty busted, okay? So her skill 1, competitiveness, basically give her her permanent additional damage towards shield, 600% boost, in fact. So she does 700% damage total against shield. She also, whenever she takes recovery, you add her total attack by 96.9%, which so it's basically 97%. For 25 seconds, this means that once you have, so you want to put Asuka as the very first burst character. Once she bursts once, through the rest of the fight, she will have that 97% boost in her attack value. Second skill is Assault Tactics, and this gives her additional damage as strong damage whenever she is shielded. Okay, so here's the issue with shielding. This is the similar buff that Naga needs as her skill set, which means only characters such as Crown or Tia at the current moment will work with her skill set. There's also other characters such as Uria, Folkwan, and Ether, but those three really doesn't do much in the current meta, so let's not talk about it. So this limits, if you want to use her elemental damage bonus, she will have to be teamed with Crown, Tia, and in the upcoming collab character, Ray. Okay, but at the same time, you need to remember elemental damage as strong the elemental only works on character that is weak to fire type. So unless you are fighting a character that is water type, aka weak to fire, you really don't need a teammate with a shield boost. This makes Asuka's team sorting a little bit more flexible than Naga, to be honest, because Naga's majority of her boost is based on having the shield on her, but Asuka actually only boosts 1 out of 5 boss type, right? So she's a little bit more flexible, and also elemental damage is not her only boost. She also deals additional core attack 60% for 10 seconds during burst to fire type allies, and this is not limited to shield. So whenever she is grouped with a fire type, they do additional damage on enemy cores. This is very useful if you want to slot her currently with Alice, or you want to slot her with Modernia. Okay, we'll talk about team later. And lastly, her burst is a 40-second rotation, and it also gives pierce for 25 seconds, which means once she bursts once, she has permanent pierce through the entire game, right? Unless she gets stunned or unless she gets somehow didn't get her first chance in burst. She also increased attack damage by 150%, which is a big chunk of attack boost for 10 seconds. And she also has lifesteal for 3.16% damage she dealt. The additional hit rate, that means that during her own burst cycle, her assault weapon become a freaking ray gun. This is good because her additional core damage will help her deal a lot more damage on enemy that has a core. However, this also means that even though she gets additional boosted damage out of her burst rotation via skill 2, her accuracy doesn't allow her to hit core at all times. So something I need to talk about of Asuka in terms of her team and her issues with the future teammate as well is the fact that she has a 100% built-in attack boost already. This becomes a problem as you progresses through the game and as your supporting gets better. This is not limited to her, but it is an issue, okay? So basically what it means is that the near 100% attack boost will dilute the amount of help that her teammate can give her. For example, leader will give additional attack for 66%, plus another 14% for 5 seconds, and then you also have Nord that also gives additional attack. And for example, let's say you have a team that can give Asuka 20% attack value, right? Asuka already has 200% attack value of her original. So 20% plus 200%, you are only getting a boosted value of 10%. So that means the final output of Asuka with her teammate is only 10% better. And if you take a look at, say, Modernia, which is another character that also have special additional attack during her normal functions, is 25% attack boost, right? So 25% attack boost, that means is 20% divided by 125%. It means that, in fact, Modernia will receive 16% total final value boost in the after all the attack equations being made. So this means that the amount of bonuses Asuka received from her teammate is a little bit less than some of the characters out there with a teammate. And this is not a limitation only for Asuka. It also applies to Scarlet. It also applies to this Scarlet as well. Red Hood also has similar issues of higher attack value by default, right? So it is not just Asuka's issue, but you just need to remember that this is something that affects her when you are trying to build her team. What should we go for her gear? And of course, she is attacker type, so you want to enhance the head, the chest as priority. The glove is secondary priorities. The boot, I think as long as you get to overload level, you'll be okay. She is one of the main damage dealer at the moment for the game right now, so it's a good idea for you to put some effort into her gearing. She's actually really good as a damage dealer, not as we'll talk about her teammate and damage potential, but for the time being, she's best to be going with max ammo capacity. At least 3 of them, and then I'm sorry, 2 of them is the minimum I would recommend. 3 is highly recommended, and on top of that, you can do attack or elemental. You need to remember that attack value gets a little bit washed down because her home high attack values, and elemental really only works against fire weak enemy, which is water type. So minimum 2 ammo, 2 attack / elemental, and if you can get to it, 3 ammos and 2 attack / 3 elemental, and then you can work the rest other positive values that does not involve charging. So crit rate, crit damage also helps a little bit, not too much, but it does help. If you can get to 4 ammo, that also works as well. But just remember that charging stats is really useless on her. So what team can we use for Asuka, right? At the current game moment, the best possible team probably is still leader / D-wife and with crown boost, okay? And if you have crown boost, you're probably good to have a Naga there as well. This team will probably give you the most damage for Asuka's. And Asuka is actually good to be a booster for her fire teammate, which means that it's good to have Alice or Modernia on her team as well. The only issue you're going to run into is the fact that Alice is also a very high investment character, and in fact Alice will probably outperform Asuka in this team overall, just because during most teams Alice actually does have higher damage output than Asuka. It's just that Alice has a very high threshold of investment. Alice has a very high threshold of investment for her to become good, and Asuka is a little bit easier to hit there. And at the same time, if you're doing solo raids or union raid, Alice is almost always tied to Scarlet Black Shadow, SBS, where I call her Darklit. So she's probably not going to be on the same team with Asuka most of the time. This leaves only Modernia. And also in the upcoming event, you're gonna have Rei Ayanami coming here as well as another fire type to boost her damage. So technically, if you're not under healing pressure, you can technically do Leader, Crown, Asuka, Ray. Well, this Ray is here in temporarily, and Modernia as all 3 damage type. Is not the most ideal in some sense, but this actually works. Okay, so let's see. Alternatively, of course, you can use a Tiaga team. This team will still provides ample amount of damage. This team can be it can be Modernia, or it can be Lamilla, also works as well. But the Tia's shield will help with her elemental damage, which is great. And if you are having this team, you might as well use Modernia. Actually, you can't really use Modernia if you can use Modernia for general, right? But if you're in a solo raid or unit raid situation, Modernia is almost tied to the bunny team because she just receives so much more help from the bunny team. So on this one, you can probably just use her with Lamilla. You can use her with other type 3 support, but that is not going to be optimal. And lastly, you can have her, Asuka, to work with the bunny team. The issue with bunny's team is the fact that I wouldn't say issues. Bunny team just does not have a personal shield. Blanc generates a shield, but you need to be careful with the fact that where is Blanc? Where's my Blanc? You need to be careful with the fact that Blanc's skills only project a shield that covers herself, and then it protects other people. Okay, the shield protects all allies, but the shield is not on her ally. So what this means is that Asuka does not receive the elemental bonus from Blanc. So on this team, you are going to get the additional core pierce, but you do not have the core advantage, which works perfectly fine on enemy that is not water type. Okay. Lastly, let's talk about the substitutes. If you do not have all the one I just mentioned, who can you use? Leader can be substituted, of course, with if you really want to, you can substitute her with Dory. You can substitute her with Dorothy. You can substitute her with even what is called the other characters, D-Wife, Volumes, Crown, and can be replaced with, at the current moment, only Rosanna, but in the very much sooner update, you can replace Crown with Marie. In fact, Marie is actually a pretty good replacement for Crown on the fact that she does not have she provides more core damage. So what's happening is the fact that Crown on an enemy without core, Marie is a little bit like 10% less than the Crown's boost, but on a enemy with core and on supporting character that has Pierce, which is also Alice, and both Alice and Asuka, Marie actually provides even more boost compared to Crown to her team. So in that case, I would definitely recommend you to try out putting Marie on the team once we are able to get her. And that is pretty much for Asuka's team bonus. Alright, lastly, we need to talk about Asuka's place in the game, right? That's actually a theme in Evangelion too, right? Where she belongs. Anyway, Asuka's personal ranking in the Nikkei power tiers has been an issue through the community in the last couple of days, and I would honestly say that that a lot of people are making things a little bit too much out of nothing. I know Pride One has a history of trying to hyping up the new character a little bit higher than they're supposed to, and they're also a little bit slower on adjusting down the enemy on some certain characters tier list. But overall, it is reasonable to see why they place Asuka on SSS tier, right? So let's go over this really quick. Asuka technically does 3 to 5 damage less than the Alice most of the time. But that is assuming you're not using full auto Alice. You're using manual Alice, clicking your heart out, clicking your wrist out, and your Alice gets the maximum attack that she can get, then Asuka will do 3 to 4% less damage, right? If you scroll even once, unless you're using macro, which I don't recommend, you'll get banned if you use macro. Actually, technically, okay, there's a little more detail to that. But overall, she's just a little bit worse than Alice. 3 to 4%. You can argue the fact that no one is perfect with Alice. So if you fully manual her, you are going to miss a shot or two. And then at that point, Asuka and Alice is about equal. But you need to remember that both of them also buffs their teammate. Asuka buffs her teammate via the increasing core damage to fire type teammates or increasing the fire elemental advantage on water type enemies for her fire type teammates. Alice boosts the charging speed of Darklit Black Shadow, which helps her DPS by a lot, okay? In fact, a lot of people on the Asian forums are kind of already acknowledge the fact that Alice is able to stay SSS tier, or the very top tier. You know, I'm not gonna call SSS, I'm just gonna call it tier 0. Tier 0, by my definition, means that tier 0 is the queen of the top. You are the top DPS, depending on the situation across all bosses, okay? There's only 2 characters in this game that is currently belong to T0 for damage dealing: Red Hood and Scarlet Black Shadow. They, depending on the boss type and the boss weakness point that you are going to see, one could age out the other. Overall, Darklit, Black Shadow Darklit does a little bit more damage overall, but the Red Hood can outshine her in certain boss fights. Alice is no longer the top damage DPS, okay? After the Red Hood buff, she's no longer the top damage. However, she's able to stay on to SS the very top T0 as a B3 because she buffs Scarlet Black Shadow to her certain points, right? If you take a look at this one, Asuka buffs the damage of Alice. So even though I have completely nerfed Alice's attack by using her as a full auto, Alice is still able to outperform Asuka by just a little bit. So their damage is really close. So by that means, honestly, to some point, if you look at pure attack value or pure damage value, I don't think Alice should have been T0 also. But she is T0 because she buffs the biggest, the most important DPS right now we have in this game, which is Scarlet Black Shadow. And which is why Alice is in T0. But if you want to do comparison, because of the fact that Asuka, her damage is extremely close to Alice herself, so there's really no, honestly, if you're doing manual, there's almost no difference, because you're gonna screw up unless you're a robot, and make no mistake. So Asuka, let's say Asuka's damage is equal to Alice under normal human condition. She does provide support to Alice. Then that means that if Alice is in the T0, then there's no reason why Asuka should be in T0, right? Like that comparison is not hard to make. So in defense of Pride 1, that's where they came up with her Asuka's tier list. But you need to remember, Asuka's bursts are mostly adjusted. Asuka's main support is stuck with fire type or against water type enemies. With fire type on water type enemies. Without that, Asuka's support for her teammate decreases a little bit, and it will rely on to core only. And the current teammate she helps, Modernia, honestly, Modernia as a DPS carry character has been fallen out of favor in solo raids and union raid for a long while now. Modernia still works really well in PvE in map clearing content when you're trying to finish stories and chapters in hard mode, because Modernia has her burst skill that just wiped the entire screen. But without that, Modernia has consistently performed lower, if not the same as Asuka, when sorting into the same team as Asuka. And when given into the same team, that actually helps Modernia more than Asuka, for example, the Bunny teams. And actually, in fact, if you really think about it, Bunny team is also on its way out of the current support system. The best support right now after the Marie release is most likely going to be, for B2, it's going to be Crown, Marie, Rosanna, Naga and Tia combo is probably going to beat Naga and Tia combo. That's top 4, with the best is probably Crown and Nagatia. The Marie, depend on the enemy. Those 3 are going to be top, and then Rosanna. And then it's going to be the Bunnies. So any other B2 that's going to be coming out is going to possibly push Modernia out of the game. Which means that at the current moment, Asuka does provide a decent support as well, but her support's important in the game. It's not as important as Alice. So if you really want to put that in consideration, I don't think Asuka's supposed to be T0. She is maybe T0.5. You can also, but here's what's tricky, right? And I think this is where the controversy happens. Certain side, actually, you know what? I'm just not gonna beat around the bushes. Probably the one decide to put what's her name? Scarlet still as top SS tier, top tier. I think SSS is their tier. Scarlet really is no longer SSS tier. She has been getting kicked around the Union raid and the solo raid for quite a while now. She's still able to hang on because she still has really good support. But if you really look into the data of Alice versus Scarlet, not Alice, Asuka versus Scarlet, on a shielded enemy, with a shield applied on her against water, Alice actually does outperform Scarlet, right? Without shield and without kind of piercing and without any kind of advantages, Scarlet and Alice, they're actually almost neck to neck in terms of damage. The issue is just that Asuka at the moment has many more damage source than Scarlet, because Asuka provides additional damage to shield. She has pierce, which means that she has additional bonus on enemy that has core and body part lapped together. She also provides additional damage on body parts that is lapped together, and also on body part cores. For example, if you really think about it, Asuka will get a double damage on literally just parts overlap. She has 65% core damage. Pure core exposed enemies, and when you add those two together, is 165% boost when you have both a enemy that has a core and a body part. So that's a big chunk of damage. I'm gonna put up some damage number that I have been doing testing on. So I would say Scarlet currently is still the very top tier in the PvP. Her nuking capability has not been caught up by anyone else in the game, right? Her nuking ability, her rate of generating SP, her burst bar, no one can really compare. But if you factor that out, Scarlet got beaten by Asuka in pretty much every single way possible. If you consider the fact that Asuka actually has a more versatile damage source, and the biggest thing that I would say Asuka's better than Scarlet is the fact that Asuka has lifesteal. Scarlet doesn't. Scarlet's life draining capability has been a long-standing issue in solo raid and Union raid, because a lot of times if you want to go for a top 1%, not even top 1%, the top 200 spots, I aim for it a couple times. You do not want to have a healer in some of your teams. Scarlet without healer is a suicidal run. You can probably perfect it in 1 out of 40, 50 runs, but it's extremely difficult. Having Asuka having a self-heal, and especially if a boss has a attack on highest attack enemy mechanism, this means that Asuka can be the team's tank and the team's own damage dealer as well, while Scarlet will always be a liability due to her damage draining. So you're always going to have a healer with her at almost all the time, where else you need to play very, very, very carefully. So when you put that in, even if, say, Scarlet is moved down to SS tier, basically tier 0.5, Asuka being that much better than Scarlet means that the tier list is a little bit something's wrong with it, right? So in my opinion, in PvE wise, like for Union raid, solo raid, Scarlet needs to be moved down even further. She is no longer tier 0 or tier 0.5. Unfortunately, Scarlet is more or less tier 1 now, because you can also see in solo raid, Scarlet's team is often the team that deal the least amount of damage in a lot of instances. So in fact, I think there's a couple teams I've seen that doesn't even have Scarlet anymore, just due to her being a liability in some of the solo raids. So with that being said, where is Asuka supposed to be on the team? I personally think that Asuka still outperformed her, and this guy has no really advantage, a very big advantage for Asuka to take care of. Asuka is not T0 in my opinion, because T0 means that you is irreplaceable for the current moment. She is not irreplaceable. However, she's definitely tier 0.5. She is just a slight notch below the very, very top tier. At the same time, though, Scarlet's ranking has been artificially higher than it's supposed to for a long time, and I think it needs to be adjusted down a little bit. And honestly, given that the Asuka is such a big power creep for PvE content, I have a feeling that the shift up is probably going to boost what's her name? It's probably going to boost Alice by giving her a favorite thing. The fact that they have pushed out Alice's diary, so every single player at the current time will have a free Alice, and the fact that Alice is a character that is in the game ever since her introduction. Like, they're literally feeding you Alice material, okay? If you really think about it, this game has been hand feeding you Alice material for the last couple of days, and they are making sure that everyone will have Alice by the time of 2nd anniversary. So my prediction is that by 2nd anniversary, we're going to see a bigger jump in the overall attack power for our Burst 3 roundup, because Cinderella is most likely going to be our anniversary characters. And we are going to have Alice been boosting up her attack and her damage capability to match that, which will leave Asuka behind. Is that a good thing? Maybe not, but I think that's how they're gonna make money, and making sure that the damage value of the game not staying stagnant. Well, with that being said, I think making a tier list is hard. Okay, let's just say that. Let's make this outright. Making a tier list is not easy. In fact, I tried to do it during my free time before. If you look at my channel, I do it when the game first started. The time and the understanding of the game required increases exponentially higher and higher and higher and higher as the game's roster grows, because you need to go and revise the tier list of every single characters. And that's going to suck up a lot of your time, especially Nikkei is releasing character at an ever increasing rate. before this collab, no one's gonna tell you that they were gonna have 3 SSR, right? But now we do. So I think in some sense, Pride One is got caught with their pants down in the tier list refinement. If they just put Scarlet slightly down, I don't think most people is gonna have that much of an issue as well. And if Alice is down 1 notch as well, or they explain why Alice is up a little bit better, and that also could ease some people's issues. But overall, I wouldn't say Asuka is a new T0, but she is a good character to pull. If you consider the fact that the only person she gets out damaged by is Red Hood, which is an anniversary character, and the Scarlet Black Shadow, which is a pilgrim that is also pretty difficult to obtain. If you're a new player, Asuka's your best chance. Honestly, she's the best attack damage dealer at the moment, and there's really no one else in comparison as a new player, because Alice requires a lot more investment. And yeah, so if you're an older player, Asuka is a big maybe on skipping. I don't recommend skipping Asuka. At least get 1 copy of her so you won't cry about it, which is going to title this. You're not going to escape Asuka in this game moving forward. You're probably going to see her in solo raids or in other raids or PvE content with other people's team for the foreseeable future, maybe for up to a year. You're not going to escape her. For new characters, for new player that got into the game, I would strongly recommend you to pull at least 1 Asuka, because she is pretty self-sufficient. She doesn't really need healers. She also provide her own boost, and while having overload gear does help her quite a bit, she's not a live or die character that depends on overload gear. So I would say for new players, new players only, she is definitely tier 0. She is a must pull. I would strongly recommend you to at least get 1 copy of her if you can. Don't take it her, just try to pull her as much as you can. And as older player, 1 copy is enough. If you really want to save something, you don't really need to pull her, but you're not going to escape competing with other character, with other player that has Asuka, because Asuka is a powerhouse, and she will remain in a powerhouse for the foreseeable future. But with that being said, I think that is my review for the day, and hopefully this helps with anyone making a decision on Asuka, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.